Let me ask you a question. What do you think about failure? Have you ever seen failure as a slap in the face? An end point, a dark mark in your life? Or perhaps you've stood up from failure and asked yourself, what's the next step? Failure, I believe, is one of those experiences everyone wants to avoid. But the truth is, failure is not the end, but an essential part of the journey to success. One crucial thing I want you to understand from the start: no one succeeds without experiencing failure. The people you admire, the most successful individuals you know, they've failed too many times, and they've also had moments when they wanted to give up. Do you know why they still got back up? Because they understood that failure is not a stopping point, but a turning point. Failure is not the end, it's part of the journey. And more importantly, how you face failure, how you learn from it, determines whether you'll succeed or fall. I want you to remember this. Failure is a fantastic opportunity to learn. Never see failure as something bad. See it as the most valuable lesson you can have on your path to success. So what do you think about failure? Are you letting it knock you down, or will you use it as a springboard to rise stronger? Let me share a secret I've learned throughout my journey. Failure is not the end, but an opportunity to take another step on the path of growth and success. We will dive deep together into how you can change your perspective on failure, and more importantly, how you can learn from each failure to become stronger, more confident, and ultimately more successful. Let's begin. Take a moment to reflect on failure. You might think failure is an endpoint, a shock, a fall you can't overcome. But in reality, failure is simply a result, an event that didn't go as you expected. What's important is how you face it, and how you handle that failure will determine who you become in the future. Failure, a concept that needs re-examination. When you hear the word failure, you probably think of a negative event, a bad outcome. But I want you to try looking at failure from a different angle. Failure is not the worst thing in your life. Failure is a part of life that each of us will experience, an essential part of the process of learning and growing. Look back at yourself for a moment. When you took your first steps in life, did you fall? Of course you did. Did you stop right there and say, you'll never walk again? Or did you get up and keep going? That is the difference between those who keep moving forward and those who are defeated by failure. We learn to walk through falling to become steadier. Failure is just a stop along your long journey. Don't let it define you. Failure is not the end of the story, but an essential part that helps you become a better person. You can pause, learn the lesson, and continue the journey, or you can let it become an excuse to give up and surrender. The choice is yours. Failure is a valuable leçon. To make it clearer, failure is a wonderful lesson. Every time you fail, you don't just lose something, you also have the chance to learn about yourself. You learn about patience, about what can be improved, about the ability to adjust and adapt. In fact, failure is where you find the most valuable lessons. If you never fail, you will never know your limits. Failure is what helps you develop skills and knowledge because it forces you to face your shortcomings and what you need to do to improve. Think about the successful people you admire. Do you know how many times they failed before achieving success? Walt Disney was once fired from a newspaper for not being creative enough. Steve Jobs was kicked out of the company he founded. But they didn't let those failures stop their path to success. They learned from failure and came back stronger. They knew failure was not the end, but a lesson for growth. How to view failure to learn and grow. Indeed, how you view and face failure can change everything. If you only see failure as a negative event, you will always feel disappointed and give up when things don't go as planned. But if you see failure as an opportunity to learn and grow, then even in the toughest times, you can still find value and motivation to keep moving forward. Failure is just an event, but how you deal with it will shape your life. Don't let failure make you feel guilty or ashamed. Instead, use failure to discover what you can do better and apply those lessons to your next attempt. That is why I always say, failure is not death, but an opportunity to start over, this time smarter. Failure is part of the journey to success. Finally, remember that failure is not something you can avoid. It is part of the learning and success process. Each time you fail, you not only learn how to avoid that mistake again, but also how to do something better. So I want you to think of failure as a companion on your journey. Don't run from failure. Embrace it as part of your personal growth process. Failure is a sign that you are moving, trying, and progressing. Successful people are not those who never fail, but those who know how to get up after each fall and keep moving forward. Failure is not something to fear, but something you can learn from and use to become better. Think about a time you failed, maybe in work, a relationship, or a plan you set out to achieve. You felt disappointed, confused, maybe even hopeless. But in that moment, I want you to look at it differently. Could this failure be an opportunity to learn? I want you to understand that failure is the greatest opportunity to learn, because failure, no matter how tough or painful, is always where the deepest lessons life can offer are found. Each time you fail, you get a valuable chance to identify your shortcomings, to understand what you need to improve. As I mentioned earlier, failure is not the end. It is a turning point that makes you realize you haven't done well enough, that there are still many things to improve and develop. When you fail, you not only see what you lack, but also understand how to do better next time. Failure does not mean you are a failure. It only means you haven't found the right way to do it yet. E, what failure teaches you about yourself. When you fail, the first thing you notice is that you start questioning yourself. You ask, why did I fail? What did I do wrong? Could I have done something differently? It is in these moments that you begin to understand yourself better. Failure helps you recognize your limits and weaknesses. It is the moment you face the truth, you realize you weren't patient enough, determined enough, or skilled enough to achieve what you wanted. And when you recognize this, you start planning to change, to grow. Failure helps you see that success is not easy. You understand that there are things you need to learn, things you haven't fully mastered. But because of this, failure becomes a mirror that helps you reflect on yourself, helping you become a better version of you. R, failure helps you identify mistakes to avoid. Each time you fail, you learn mistakes you never want to repeat. This is crucial, because failure is not a meaningless event, but an opportunity to discover flaws in your strategy, things you did wrong and can improve. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes are an essential part of growing, and I would never advise you to fear them. I just want you to understand that each mistake teaches you a valuable lesson, and once you learn it, you will never make that mistake again. Think of a simple example. When you first learned to drive, you likely faced difficult situations and made mistakes. You might have pressed the gas instead of the brake, or forgotten to steer, but with each mistake, you learned how to avoid it next time. Failure in driving doesn't mean you can't drive. It means you need to practice and learn more to drive better. Failure in life is the same. Each failure is a step that brings you closer to success. As long as you learn from it and keep acting, you will know how to avoid those mistakes in the future. San, failure is a tool to adjust and implement new strategies. When you face failure, it is the time to review your strategy. Failure doesn't mean your goal is unattainable. It means you need to adjust your approach and methods. Sometimes to succeed, you need to try multiple times, and each failure shows you what needs to change. Remember, failure helps you see things. You haven't tried methods you haven't considered. From there, you create a new strategy better suited to what you've learned from past stumbles. Failure is not a reason to give up, but an opportunity to refine your strategy, to apply what you've learned from previous falls. For example, if you start a business project and face difficulties, failure teaches you how to adjust your business model. You learn. You might need to change how you approach customers, adjust your marketing strategy, or even modify the product to better fit market needs. Failure helps you build a more creative and sustainable strategy for the future. Failure teaches you patience and resilience. An important lesson from failure is patience. When you don't get results right away, you learn to be more patient. And from that, you develop resilience. You can't expect everything to go smoothly the first time. Life is a long journey, and only those who persevere can achieve ultimate success. Successful people have all gone through countless failures. Resilience is the ability to keep going despite failures and challenges. They don't give up after each fall, but learn from it and keep acting. Patience is a prerequisite for achieving great goals, and failure is a valuable tool to build that patience. Failure is a golden opportunity for growth. Finally, I want you to remember that failure is not something to fear. It is a wonderful tool to help you grow. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, adjust, and develop the skills you need to achieve your goals. Learn from failures and let them help you rise stronger. Because if you never fail, you will never know what you are capable of. Face failure boldly, and always remember that failure is part of the journey to success. Now that you understand failure is not the end, but an opportunity to learn and grow, the next thing you need to overcome failure is persistence. You can't achieve anything without persistence. Persistence is the only key to unlocking the door to success, even when things don't go as planned. Persistence determines everything in life. If you lack persistence, you will give up before you get close to your goal. But if you persist, nothing can stop you. You will overcome failure, you will keep moving forward, and ultimately you will succeed. Remember one simple thing I want you to understand now. Persistence is not about never facing difficulties, but about not giving up when you encounter them. Everyone faces difficulties. Everyone fails. But only those who persist, who don't give up, can see the light at the end of the road. Persistence guarantees success. Persistence is the ability to keep acting even when you don't see immediate results. This is one reason why successful people never give up. I once said success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated daily. Remember, success is not an event that happens instantly. It is a long process. You can't build an empire overnight. You can't become an expert after just a few tries. Persistence is about continuing to try even when you don't see immediate results. And I can assure you that if you persist, you will see results. Persistence turns failure into success. Failure is not a sign you were wrong, but a sign you haven't found the right way yet. And while you haven't found the right way, you must persist. Persistence helps you learn from each failure, and that learning brings you closer to your goal. I want you to remember this. Failure doesn't define you, but how you act after each failure does. Look at the most successful people in life. None achieved great success without facing failure. But what made the difference is that they didn't give up. They didn't stop when things got tough. Don't forget, failure is an opportunity to learn. And when you persistently learn from your failures, you will see that nothing can stop you from reaching success. Persistence is the bridge between you and success. Set goals and persist in pursuing them. Goals are critical, but persisting in pursuing your goals is what matters most. You must persist with your goals no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many people around you say you can't do it. Set clear goals and do everything possible to achieve them. Don't let temporary failures stop you. Each failure is a lesson to adjust, and it's persistence that keeps you from giving up, from stopping, and ultimately helps you achieve your goals. Remember, every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to your goal. And if you persist, you will see yourself getting closer to your goal each day. The key is not to give up halfway. Persistence guides you through tough times. Life will always have challenges, tough times. Moments when you feel nothing is going right, when you feel tired and want to give up. Those are the times you need to be most persistent. Persistence is not a quality you gain once and for all. Persistence is a habit you must practice daily. In tough times, that's when you need to persist the most. When you feel like giving up, that's when you need to take one more step. Remember, persistence will help you overcome all difficulties, all challenges. Never give up when things aren't over. And once you persist to the end of the road, you will see the fruits of your efforts. Persistence inspires those around you. Another important thing is that persistence not only brings you success, but also inspires those around you. When you persist through difficulties, you become a role model for others. You not only change your life, but also the lives of those around you. If you can persist and overcome every failure, you show that each of us can overcome difficulties if we don't give up. Persistence is how you create change, not only in your life, but also in your community. Persistence is the key. Finally, remember that persistence is the deciding factor in your success. Failures will keep coming, but if you persist, you will overcome them all. The key to success is persistence. You cannot achieve what you want if you don't persistently pursue it every day. You will face failures, you will have moments when you want to give up, but only when you persist will you see the light at the end of the road. If you truly want to succeed, persist. Keep acting. Even if you fail, and you will see yourself getting closer to what you desire. Let me ask you a straightforward question. Are you afraid of failure? I bet the answer is yes. Everyone has fears, even the most successful people. The fear of failure is a natural part of being human, and its power, what makes you hesitate, makes you think carefully before acting. But I want you to understand one crucial thing. The fear of failure is not your enemy, but an opportunity to surpass yourself. Think about this. Every time you feel fear, every time you feel anxious about failing, that is a sign you are at a critical crossroads. That is the moment you need to act, the moment you need to face that fear and turn it into motivation to keep going instead of letting it stop you. Fear is not something you can avoid, but it is something you can control. And today I will show you how to turn the fear of failure into motivation so it doesn't hold you back, but pushes you to rise stronger. Fear is natural, but don't let it control you. People often think fear is a sign of weakness, but in reality, fear is a natural human response. When you face a big challenge, when you start acting to change your life, the fear of failure will appear, and that is completely normal. But the important thing is not to let that fear control you. Fear only has power when you allow it to have power. When you realize that fear is just a natural emotion and not something you must avoid, you will begin to understand how to turn it into a tool to help you go further. Think about the most successful people in the world. Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, Thomas Edison, they all had fears, but they didn't let fear control them. They faced their fears and used them as motivation to keep acting. They knew failure was just part of the process to achieve success, and they kept going despite the fear. Turn fear into motivation. The key is action. The key to overcoming the fear of failure is action. When you feel afraid, don't stand still, act. Don't wait until you no longer feel afraid, because fear will always be there. Instead, act even when you feel afraid. It is in action that you will find the strength and confidence to keep going. I once said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. It's not about wanting life to be easier, but about becoming better to face life's challenges. The fear of failure is not a sign you can't do something, but a sign you are doing it right. If you don't feel fear, it means you haven't challenged yourself enough. So instead of avoiding fear, I want you to face it, stand up and act. Start with a small step. No matter how big the fear is, act now. Action is the way you will turn fear into motivation to keep rising. See fear as an opportunity for growth. Change how you view fear. Don't see it as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to grow. Every time you face fear, you not only overcome a challenge, but also learn and grow from the experience. Fear is a signal that you are doing something important. Remember, fear is a companion. It comes to remind you that you are doing something meaningful, that you are challenging yourself and stepping out of your comfort zone. Only those who dare to face fear can discover their limitless potential. When you overcome fear, you realize that each time you face it, you not only master your emotions, but also learn a valuable lesson about yourself. You become stronger, more confident, and nothing can stop you from achieving your goals anymore. Fear is a sign you are getting closer to your goal. One way to overcome fear is to see it as a sign that you are getting closer to your goal. The closer you get to your goal, the bigger the challenges and the stronger the fear. That means you are doing it right. If you don't feel fear, you haven't truly put yourself in a challenge. The fear of failure is a warning that you are entering new territory where there are greater opportunities and challenges. This doesn't mean you can't achieve your goal. It means you are venturing into new challenges. And those challenges will help you grow. Each time you overcome a challenge, you are one step closer to your goal. Fear is just the beginning of change. Let it become the motivation to keep moving forward. Woo! Conquer fear with resilience and persistence. Finally, the key to overcoming the fear of failure is resilience and persistence. When you persist despite fear, you not only overcome challenges, but also create an inner strength you never realized before. Fear can only stop you if you let it. But if you stand up and act, you will see that fear is not as powerful as you thought. Don't let the fear of failure stop you. Let fear be the motivation to work harder, persist more, and get closer to your goal. Action is the best way to face fear and turn it into a powerful source of motivation. Turn fear into motivation. Finally, I want you to remember one thing. Fear is not something you must avoid, but something you must learn to face and turn into motivation. When you do this, you not only overcome fear, but also discover the hidden strength within yourself. Don't let the fear of failure stop you. Face it, act now, and use it as motivation to move forward. Don't let fear hold you back. Let it be the stepping stone that helps you rise stronger. Surely you've heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But sometimes, no matter who you go with, you will still face failures. Failure is a part of life, and after each failure, you shouldn't stop, but make a new plan. Because someone who knows how to plan will always find a way to reach success even after major failures. In life, things don't always go according to plan. Surely you've made a perfect plan full of confidence and determination, but then things may not go as you expected and you face failure. That failure is not a stopping point. That is the moment you need to make a new plan, adjust, learn, and keep acting. I said, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Success is not an event, but the result of consistent efforts. And when you fail, you not only learn to do better, but also learn to make new plans, persist and grow. Analyze the reason for failure. Understand the problem to find solutions. Before you make a new plan, you need to understand why you failed. Failure is not the end of everything. It is an opportunity to look back and ask yourself, what made me unsuccessful this time? Where did I go wrong? What can I do to change? If you only see failure as a wound, you won't learn anything from it. But if you see failure as a lesson, you will realize that failure teaches you important things about yourself, your strategy, and how to achieve success later. Pause and ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What strategy can I improve? What habits do I need to change to achieve different results? Don't be afraid to face the truth. Analyzing failure honestly will help you find mistakes so you can make a better plan. Adjust your strategy. It's not the goal, but the execution. When you face failure, the important thing is not to change your goal, but to change how you execute it. Never give up on your dreams just because of a few difficulties, but change how you approach them. If a strategy doesn't work, you don't need to give up. You just need to adjust. Sometimes a small change in how you work can make a big difference. Failure helps you realize you can change your approach, and that flexibility is the key to success. Remember, your goal may not change, but the strategy to achieve it needs to be adjusted when necessary. A poor strategy will lead you astray, but persistence in adjusting and changing plans is the key to reaching success. Focus on what you can control. When you fail, it's easy to feel like everything is out of your control. But I want you to remember that you can't control every situation in life. You can't control all external factors, but you can absolutely control how you react and act after each failure. When making a new plan, focus on what you can control. Control your attitude. You can choose to see failure as an opportunity or an obstacle. Control your actions. You can choose to keep trying and persist or give up. Control your time and habits. You can choose how to manage your time and prioritize tasks more effectively. When you understand that you have control over yourself, you will no longer feel overwhelmed by circumstances. Planning, based on what you can control, will help you get closer to success. So, learn from successful people. No one succeeds without experiencing failure, and no one succeeds without learning from others. In the process of making a new plan, I recommend learning from those who have failed and then succeeded. Find a mentor, someone you admire, and learn from them. They've gone before you, and they can help you shorten your time and avoid the mistakes they made. Never think you have to do everything alone. Success is not a journey you take by yourself. You can learn from those who came before you so you don't have to go through the same failures again. Woo. Patience and resilience, two key factors in a new plan. Finally, remember that when making a new plan, patience and resilience are the deciding factors. You may have the best plan, you may adjust your strategy, but the most important thing is to never give up. When you fail, you may feel tired, like you can't go on. But persistence is the only thing that helps you overcome everything. Believe in yourself and your plan. Every failure is just a small step on the path to success. Patience is necessary to achieve results, and resilience will help you get up after each fall. Make a new plan and keep acting. Finally, remember that failure is not a reason to give up, but an opportunity to make a new plan and keep moving toward your goal. When you fail, don't see it as an end. See it as a turning point, an opportunity to learn, adjust, and rise stronger. Making a new plan is not just starting over, but starting over with the lessons you've learned. Never give up on your dreams. Make a new plan, keep acting, and persist until you achieve what you want. Surely you've heard the famous saying, hard work is necessary, but knowing how to do the right thing is what matters. And I want to add that in your journey, you won't always know if you're on the right path. Each failure is an opportunity to reassess yourself, to adjust and make better decisions next time. When you face a big challenge, a failure, or a long race, the question is not, how do I avoid failure? But how do I reassess myself and make more accurate decisions next time? Self-assessment is the ability to look at yourself objectively. Making better decisions is the result of analyzing, learning, and adjusting. Remember, not every decision you make will be right, but every decision is an opportunity to learn and grow. E, self-assessment. The most important thing for personal growth. Take time to reflect on yourself. Self-assessment is not self-criticism, but a way to recognize what you do well and what you need to improve. Self-assessment is a crucial habit, and if you do it well, you will take a step further in your journey to success. I once said, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. Your success depends not only on talent or strategy, but also on your ability to assess yourself and learn from what you do well and what you don't. So what does self-assessment mean? It is the ability to review your actions, habits, and decisions and see how they affect the outcome. Sometimes you need to ask yourself tough questions. Have I done well enough? What can I do differently to get better results? Don't fear self-assessment. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but self-assessment helps you see yourself more clearly, and from there adjust your behavior to achieve better results. R, learn from your mistakes and successes. A key part of self-assessment is knowing how to learn from your mistakes. Failure is a great lesson, but if you don't look at those mistakes objectively, you won't learn anything. The questions to ask are, why did I fail? What can I learn from this? Don't let mistakes become a reason to give up. Mistakes are opportunities to learn. The important thing is, when you stumble, you must ask yourself, how can I avoid this in the future? What can I do better? Just as when you succeed, success is not random. You must learn to analyze success and understand what factors helped you achieve that result. Learning from successes and mistakes helps you become a better decision maker. And through that, you will achieve better results in the future. Make better decisions. Decisiveness is a key factor. Making decisions is not always easy, especially when facing big challenges or difficult situations. However, good decisions are not the result of chance, but of a process of thinking, self-assessment, and analysis. Remember, good decisions start with confidence. You need to trust in your ability to make decisions, and good decisions are not a single perfect decision, but a series of decisions made after each self-assessment and learning from past experiences. The most important thing is not to let fear stop you from making decisions. If you fear making decisions because you fear being wrong, you will never achieve anything. Decisions, whether right or wrong, are opportunities to learn and improve. So, use feedback to improve decisions. One of the most effective ways to improve decision making is to use feedback from others and from the situations you face. Feedback helps you see blind spots you may not have noticed. And sometimes you need others to help you see the situation more clearly. Feedback is a vital part of self-assessment. Don't hesitate to seek feedback from colleagues, friends, or those with experience. Feedback helps you recognize strengths, to leverage, and weaknesses, to improve. Feedback isn't always easy to accept. Sometimes you may feel hurt by criticism. But remember, feedback is just a tool to help you get better. If you use it positively, you will never stop improving. Woo. Make small daily decisions. Build a habit of decisiveness. Sometimes big decisions don't come right away. They are built through small daily decisions. When you can make small decisions every day, you will develop stronger decision-making skills. The key is practice. Good decisions are not something you do once and succeed immediately. They are the result of making decisions every day, learning from each decision, and constantly improving. Build a habit of decision-making. When you practice making decisions, you become more decisive. And when you are decisive, you will feel more confident, and the results of those decisions will be better. Don't wait for the moment. You have to make a big decision. Start with small decisions, because each small decision helps you build a habit of decisiveness and confidence for the future. Self-assessment and better decisions are the key to success. Finally, self-assessment and decision-making are never-ending processes. Success is not an event, but the result of constantly analyzing and adjusting. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, and each decision is an opportunity to take a step closer to success. Keep assessing yourself. Keep making better decisions. And don't forget that every decision, whether right or wrong, is a vital part of building your success. Let me end with something important I want you to keep deep in your mind. Failure is not the end, it is an opportunity. Your entire life, from the early days to when you achieve great successes, will be full of failures. But I want you to understand that failure is not a sign of defeat, but an opportunity to learn, grow, and become stronger. Failure is not death. It is only a sign that you are challenging yourself, that you are getting closer to your goal. If you never fail, you will never know what you are capable of. Failure does not mean you can't succeed. It is just the next step in your journey. The most successful people in life are not those who never failed, but those who knew how to get up after each fall, learn from failure, and keep going. Failure is a valuable lesson if you know how to view it correctly. Each failure is an opportunity to adjust, improve, and do better. And once you learn to do this, you will never be defeated. Failure is an essential part of life. Failure is not something you can avoid. It is part of the growth process. Don't think you can live a life without challenges, difficulties, or failures. What you can do is learn to face failure, learn from it, and never give up. Some may run from failure, but successful people don't fear failure. They just know to get up and keep going. Failure helps you recognize your limits, but you are the one who decides whether to continue or not. That is why each time you fail, you are closer to your goal, because you've learned how to improve and become stronger. Failure is not the end. It is just a stop on the long journey to success. Use failure as motivation. You may have felt disappointed when you stumbled, and that is completely natural. But I want you to remember that you can use failure as motivation to push yourself to rise stronger. Each time you fail, you not only learn about yourself, but also learn how to do better next time. Failure teaches you persistence, resilience, and a determination to never give up. If you let failure defeat you, that is the real failure. But if you get up, keep going, and learn from your mistakes, you have turned failure into motivation. Remember, no failure lasts forever. Failure only exists when you give up and refuse to learn from it. So, each failure is an opportunity to recreate yourself to become a better, stronger version. Sand. Failure is an opportunity to rediscover passion and redefine goals. Failure is also an opportunity to rediscover your passion and redefine your goals. Sometimes you may feel lost after a failure, but I advise you, sit down, reflect on what you've been through, and find the reason you started this journey. Each failure is an opportunity to redefine your goals, clarify your vision, and reconnect with the reason you began. You may find that your goal has changed, that you need to adjust your plan or strategy. Never let failure dim your initial passion. Remember, your goal is not just something to achieve, but a journey you will continue throughout your life. When you know how to turn failure into an opportunity, you will never lose your way. You will always find a way to start again, do better, and achieve what you want. Persistence is the ultimate key to success. Finally, I want you to remember that persistence is the most important factor in overcoming failure and achieving success. Failure has no power if you don't allow it to. If you persist and don't give up, no failure can stop you from reaching your goal. Life will always be full of challenges. Sometimes you will face unexpected failures, unavoidable difficulties. But persistence is the deciding factor. When you persist, you not only overcome challenges, but also learn how to master your life. Persistence is the only way to not only become someone who achieves goals, but also someone who maintains and enjoys their success. Failure is a stepping stone to long-term success. Remember, failure does not stop your path. Failure is just a stepping stone, an essential part of the long journey to lasting success. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, grow, and adjust yourself. Only when you overcome failure will you see your inner strength. And when you look back, you will realize that each failure, each challenge prepared you to become the person you needed to be, someone who can face and triumph over the next challenges. Failure is not the end. It is an opportunity. Failure is not the end. It is an opportunity to learn, grow, and progress. Never see failure as the end. It is an opportunity to keep going, to start over with more valuable lessons. If you want lasting success, learn to face failure. Don't fear it, but use it as motivation to push you toward your final destination. Remember, no failure is strong enough to stop the steps of someone who persists. And one day, when you look back on the path you've traveled, you will see that failure was what led you to the greatest success in your life. Wishing you persistence and continuous learning on your journey. Failure is not the end, but a stepping stone to move forward.